Across social media, a trend called bed rotting has gained millions of participants. People who spend days cycling into nights lying motionless, staring at screens, and physically disconnecting from the world outside. This detachment takes an even more immersive form in maladaptive daydreaming. These aren't just passing thoughts. They are highly detailed, complex mental fantasies that consume hours of the day, effectively replacing reality with internal fiction. While lost in these plots, people often display repetitive physical behaviors, pacing the room, making facial expressions, or whispering to invisible characters. More commonly, we use professional storytelling as a shield. Binge-watching 5 seasons of a show in a single weekend allows us to outsource our emotional experiences, temporarily blocking out the demands of our actual lives. Labeling this behavior as laziness ignores the physiological reality beneath it. When millions of people simultaneously retreat, they are employing a systemic defense mechanism against a world that has outpaced their nervous system's ability to process it. The pressure to escape is often fueled by a specific societal expectation, the idea that our value as human beings must be constantly earned, won, or proved to the people around us. This leads to the outer attainment trap. We accumulate external milestones, the job titles, the grades, the digital metrics, in an attempt to repair a sense of worth that we feel is lacking on the inside. This relentless chase for validation forces the nervous system into a state of chronic overload. We are performing for an audience whose approval is never guaranteed. Because external trophies cannot solve internal emotional deficits, the achievements inevitably leave us feeling empty. Exhausted by the performance, we head back to the bedroom to disappear once again. Psychologists identify this specific dependency on the outside world as contingent self-esteem. In this state, your baseline worth depends on unpredictable, fleeting external opinions. When you are praised, your value rises. When you are ignored or criticized, your sense of self-worth collapses. Maintaining this fluctuating value is cognitively exhausting. Eventually, the brain demands refueling, a low-effort mental break to recover the energy spent on the chase. The danger lies in the boundary between rest and stagnation. Healthy refueling allows for a momentary reprieve with the intent to return to life. Toxic avoidance is a retreat with the intent to hide. If fantasy or digital media begins to crowd out real-world experience, the tools we once used for relief begin to restrict our lives. We remain in the clouds because we no longer feel equipped to land. At this point, behaviors like bed rotting stop providing actual rest. Instead, they begin to actively drain our daily energy, making even basic productivity feel impossible. Nostalgic escapes offer a similar false promise. Retreating into familiar childhood fantasies provides a sense of safety, but it cannot address adult responsibilities or solve the complexities of modern reality. This failure points to a difficult truth. You will never have enough of what you do not need. If the core problem is an internal deficit of self-worth, no amount of external validation or prolonged escapism will ever be enough to fill it. Recognizing that these escapes have failed to provide lasting relief is the necessary first step toward recovery. It is the moment we stop looking for external solutions to an internal crisis. The alternative is genuine self-esteem, an unwavering baseline of knowing you are enough simply because you exist. This framework provides psychological flexibility. When your core identity is protected, you can navigate failures without your entire sense of worth being put at risk. Shifting to this mindset requires us to stop trying to fix ourselves into a perfect version that earns approval. Instead, we learn to meet ourselves honestly in the present moment. With a stable internal baseline, the urgent, compulsive need to disappear often begins to dissolve. When reality no longer feels like an indictment of your worth, it becomes something you are actually willing to inhabit. Practically, this begins by challenging the internal critic. We have to notice when we are using harsh, judgmental stories to describe our own lives and replace them with factual ones. This involves accepting what therapists call the dual truth, the recognition that being an imperfect work in progress is compatible with being deserving of respect. We can then apply the real-life right-now rule, choosing a small, values-aligned action in reality instead of defaulting to digital isolation. We also need to signal safety to our nervous system by building micro-pauses into the day. small moments of rest that prevent the total exhaustion that triggers the avoidance loop. Ultimately, self-worth is not something we earn through performance. It is an inherent, unchangeable part of being human. When we stop running the exhausting race to continuously prove our value to others, the need to escape vanishes. We finally reclaim the power to be present in our own lives.